Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm Sadaf. This week we have a representative from the academic world who works in the area of human-computer interaction and has used his research to explore education technologies for children, among many other things. And so today we will dive deeper into what the education landscape for tech or ICT can, should, and will look like. And so Dr. Suleman Shahid, welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Assalamualaikum everyone. As Sadaf said, I'm Suleman Shahid and I work as an assistant professor in computer science at LUMS. Before coming to LUMS, I was in Netherlands for about 12, 13 years. I was a faculty member in a university. I did my PhD there. I also was working for industry, for example, Philips or applied research centers in Netherlands as well as in Germany, because that's where I also did my master's. And then I came back to Pakistan in 2016 and joined LUMS as a faculty member here in computer science. And since then, I've been, running different research labs. I'm managing universities' Facebook Innovation Lab. I'm managing universities' usability lab. I run my own research lab on computer-human interaction, and where we focus on, well-being, learning technologies, inclusion, and I'm very happy to be here talking to you all on this very interesting topic on technology.
So some of our students are as young as 6 years old. And so how would you explain to them what it is that you do, or what your research has focused on, or why that area of expertise would be important for the world today?
Sure. So, if you ask a kid, would you like to go to school? There would be a number of reasons they would like to go to school, but one of those reasons would be always play. They like to hang, they like to talk to their friends. There's a social part, and there's a lot of game and play and social interaction. So a lot of my research is actually all about play. What we do actually, we try to use play as a medium for teaching and learning. How can you use, for example, playfulness, games, in making some content more interactive? For example, you want to learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can open a book and you can learn from there. But then your teacher also try to act it out in the class, 1, 2, 3, or sometimes she draws or he draws different things on the board, to make it more playful by making different sounds so that you know how to say one and what does it mean to be one, and how one can be used in different ways when you start studying it. Similarly, when you want to learn ABCD in the beginning, it's again, you learn with rhymes, you learn with in a playful way, and you also gamify it. You say A and B and C, then A for apple and B for ball, and then C for cat. And then after it, once you have learned ABCD, there's always this game component where you've been tested and assessed that how if A is for ball or A is for apple. And a lot of research has shown that when you make things too serious for kids, when you force things on them, when you tell them you just have to do it without explaining them and without making it playful and fun and interesting for them, they don't like it. You need to explain them why it is interesting, why it is relevant, but also make it engaging and appealing for them. So a lot of my research actually focuses on, first of all, how can you make any learning activity, be it learning football, be it learning soccer, be it learning hockey, be it learning complex mathematical equation, or be it basic ABCD, how can you make it more engaging and playful so that kids have fun, they like it. And second thing is that we all now love our iPads and computers and everything else. You want to eat, the best incentive is that give me an iPad, and then you start agreeing on everything, which means that you all like iPads and interactive computers and everything else. So why not, when you are already on iPads, we use it for good. You play games, that's very good. But then we also make games in which you can, by using that, you can learn some new stuff. You can learn ABC in a much more different way. You can learn geography in a much more different way. You learn about history in a different way. Because there's sounds, there are animations, and all these things, look fun, and you want to spend more time, and this is spending time for good. So that's what we do. We think kids love all these gadgets. Kids love, all these toys. So why not make some nice school games for these kids, for our kids, so that they have fun also, while learning something new, be it mathematics. So a lot of my research is actually focusing on that. How to make learning more playful, more fun, more interactive, so that our kids love doing it. Sorry.
I'm sure a lot of parents who are watching want to get in your head right now and find out how we can make our kids more interested in learning. And so, is the answer to make them play games?
you know sorry, I'm sorry. Learning, you, it's very, very difficult, in my opinion, that you can't force learning. You can only force learning for a day, for a week, for a month. But then, other than that, kids needs to find their own incentive for doing something. And if that incentive is not there, there is no way you can hook them up. You can force them, and there's many kids I've seen who are also love to have gold medals, but they don't really had a playful journey. So I think more important part is, of course, the end is very, very important, but that journey is also very, very important. The way you arrive at that particular destination, and we're all different. Our kids are all different. They have their own ways of learning. Eventually, within a same household, for two kids, a 4-year-old and 6-year-old, you have to find two different ways of engaging these kids. And if we don't change our parenting style for these two kids, which we do all the time, if all of you with the kids out there, how to talk to Harun and how to talk to Musa, or how to talk to Aisha and how to talk to Bilal. That by looking at them, how to react in a different way. Why not when it comes to learning also? Why not when it comes to teaching also? If we do all those adaptations when we are interacting with them in social space, why not help them to learn in a different way? So I think that's where it is very, very important that we understand what our kids want to learn, how do they want to learn, and most of them don't hate learning. It's just that they don't like the way sometimes we do it. So I think that's what is important in my opinion.
That's a great answer. That's an absolutely wonderful answer. So, tell me about your personal journey. How did you get interested in this field? What were your earlier interactions with tech? Maybe tell us, when did you get your first computer, or how old were you when you learned to code?
I I got my, I think yeah, I'm old. So I got my first computer maybe, yeah, 30 years ago. I was maybe 9, something like that, maybe 10. I don't exactly remember, but I think it was around that time. So we had this. I remember my uncle, my chacha, bought a very good computer, and we used to live together. Our family and his family, and I'm the eldest one in the house. So I was the kid, 9-year old, with all the power and with all the playtime. Absolutely no sharing with anybody. So, and that was fun. It's always lovely when you don't have to share. When you have younger. I do have my two younger brothers, but they were very young, and I had all the control, and that was fun. So I remember that the first computer was amazing. It was not like the one we have now. We don't need, there was no hard disk at that time. Um, there was, your kids don't even know there were like floppy disks, or not even floppy disks. It was like this big thing would go in, and if you start writing your name and your address and your friend's name and some other stuff, and then that floppy disk would get filled. Then you need another one, and then you need another one. So it was like that. So I started there. I remember, and it was interesting. And then I got upgraded after a couple of years. And at that time, it was all black screen. There was no Windows at that time. So always have to type. If you want to make a directory, folder kind of a thing. It looks very cool now that you just right click and make a folder. At that time, you need to have a big manual, and then you will type MKDIR, and then you press enter, and then location, and then C colon backslash. And it was fun because it was like learning a new language. You grow up, and you kids know, if I ask you, how did you learn Urdu or English? We don't know. It just happened automatically. We were part of the system, and we just had to do it. And then I don't remember how it happened. So similarly, you can think of coding like that. If you're just a part of the system, and you have to talk to a beautiful machine, and he or she doesn't get you, how would you talk to him? And if you like your machine, you need to learn the language. And that was my goal, that I need to talk to this machine. So I then started learning some basic. I wouldn't say I always loved the coding part, but I love what coding will give me. And coding would give me a nice game, or maybe a snake moving on the screen, or some flashing stars, something like that. I was always a graphics, a visual person. So that happened. Then after that, I got very interested into games at that time also. So I used to play a lot of games. We bought Atari at that time. It was a new thing, just came out. And then I got interested in playing games on computer, and I found chess at that time. I still remember one of my main interest game from chess. I started playing chess at a very young age, and computer would always win, and I was maybe 12 or 13 at that time, maybe. And I remember my computer was in our big guest room, and I would just go in, lock the door, and would play chess for 3 hours and 4 hours, and every extra minute I'll find, because I had to beat the computer, and the computer was just not listening to me. Like, I did my best, and maybe after maybe 6 months, 8 months, or a year, I don't remember, but there was a day when I won from the computer, and the computer was not that intelligent. You can imagine, it's like 20 years ago, computers were not very intelligent. It's not like today's computer. I can't win from today's computer. Maybe you can win, if you start doing it today, you all can win, but maybe I'm merely thoda mushkil hai. So when I won, I said, wow, now I need to make these games, and I need to make this animation and everything else. So I really got interested through games. And then one of my mamu was a professor in Qaidism University, and I used to go. I'm telling you, you always have these external factors which influence you, which gives you reason why do you want to do some certain things, and that's why exposure is very, very important. So exposure is the key, because it triggers that, oh dear, I want to do that. And I used to with my mamu, I used to go sit in his chemistry lab. That was one of the best organic chemistry labs you will have in Pakistan. And I would go there, and they had their much better computer at that time there. And we do all the big experiments there, and controlling gases, and I don't know, whatever. And then you have zero weight machines there. So, if you put like your hair in that machine, it will also weight that. It was cool things, cool gadgets. And then the researchers told me there, all these things are controlled by computer. So if you want to do anything, the path is through computers. So, and I said, that's cool, that's nice. So I got interested in computers, maybe not in computer science, but that's a different story altogether. But computers were always fascinating. Computer science was a different story for me. But yeah, that's how I got my first computer. And then I went into this computing area, and then I got into computer science. I did my undergrad in computer science. Then I went to Germany. I did my graduate studies in computer science. But as I told you in the beginning, I was always a graphics person. I was always a designer. I wanted to be an architect, but and a computational designer was a way to sort of then navigate into that. Then I did my PhD. I got faculty member. Then things went on a different trajectory. But I think the start was much more exciting than many other things. I think I still remembered that. Yeah.
That's a fascinating journey. So it sounds like you got hooked through games, and that was your earlier fun interactions with tech that led you down the road that you are today. And so if there is a parent that perhaps thinks that God, these kids are always on screens, are always playing games, or they need to do something educational. Or the other side of it with like, what is this programming? Like, what would you tell someone who's scared or intimidated or outside this tech space? Like, how accessible is it, and how important is it for kids to interact with it at an early age?
You know, I I'll be very surprised if a parent tells me that they are outside the tech space. They can't be. You know, it's you're breathing in that. It's pervasive. It's ubiquitous. It's all around us. You just cannot escape that. The idea is that how to build a relationship with that space, and how your children should build a relationship with that particular space. In my, you know, we need to find a balance. Um, for me, I think it would be a, let me start from a different point of view. It would be a bad idea if one thinks that every kid should be a computer scientist. I think that's not the way to think about it. When you say that, oh dear, I don't need to code because I don't want my kid to be a computer scientist, I think that's the wrong, in my opinion, mindset. The mindset, I think, I do, for example, now some work on arts, where I try to produce that arts using computational methods. If I need to, for example, we can see at the back of Sadaf, there's a very nice piece of art. And I would love to create that piece of art using some algorithms, using some automatic generations, so I can do those things. So my point here is that humanities is very, very important. Social sciences is very important. Business is also very important. History is important. Liberal arts is the way to move forward. But does it mean that when you want to do A, it stops you from doing B, and that is that coding? No, that's not the case. Coding has become a new way of thinking. It has become a new way of problem solving. It has become a new, it's a new language to talk to a machine to solve some of your basic problems. Now you live in if you have a smart TV, it takes a while in switching on because the TV is thinking, and then switch ons, and then there's a logo appears. Old TVs would switch on immediately, and now the smart TVs are very, very smart. And this smartness, uh, how does this smartness come into play? This smartness comes into play, or any other a smart device you have, maybe your machines or microwaves or everything else, electronics, they're all getting smarter and smarter and smarter. So do you think only the computer scientists contribute to this? No, that's not the case. If you ask me literally what my field is not computer science. I'm in a computer science department, but a lot of my work is multidisciplinary, which works on the intersection of design and technology. And as a designer, I need lots of computer science skills to be able to understand a problem, to be able to solve a problem. So I would say, don't really think coding as a field of computer science. We don't want our kids to be nuts, and we don't want kids to be nerds and take this. No, 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 that's not the case. It's a different way of thinking, problem solving. And if you learn this skill, you'll be successful anywhere. You can use the same skill of problem solving, be it incremental, be it discrete, be it, complexity, thinking of a big problem, chunking it down to smaller problems, solving a smaller problem, again, bringing it up and connecting with a larger problem. All those skills are being taught while coding, and these skills are translatable in any field. They're translatable into when you look at a very complex problem and you're hiking. This is translatable when you go deep into caves, when you have to make some routing. This is translatable when you go on holidays and you have to find the optimal path. When you want to go from Lahore to Karachi and you want to understand what is the best way of doing it, and then you're doing mental maths. All these things are usable in your daily life. So don't really take it as a computer science issue, because for my own kid, I don't think so he needs to be a computer scientist. But yeah, I think it's a great idea if he learns how to program, and they're two different things, in my opinion. So I would say, sorry, to the last thing you asked, I think screens are not bad. It's just the access of it. We are unable to balance that. I think, and this has been said again and again, that we I think that it would be a bad idea if screens disconnect us from the nature. That should not happen. Other than that, I don't see any problem in learning from gadgets. I think some of the apps, some of the way we teach, you can do a much better job using an iPad application than a teacher on the board. For sure. Why not? We if there's a new technology, use it, learn from it. We should not be conservative in our approach. No, we have to go back to the blackboard. No, but there's a better way of learning. Use it. But balance, I think, is the key.
Fantastic. So I think you touched upon so many things that I'd like to dive deeper into, but when you're in academia, I've noticed that there is almost an assumption now that wasn't there, 20 years ago, that a student coming in whatever field, like you said, right, has some kind of roots or exposure or understanding of coding. And do you, like, looking at the forward horizon, how important is this expectation when kids go into college? Should they already know how to code, or do you think there's still time?
I think I think many kids would know how to code. They in the next, if you look at when we arrive at 2030, and if I'll be standing in my class, even in the School of Humanities, I would expect that many students who would come there, they would come at least with a computational thinking mindset. They will come with that mindset, and this will just be one extra tool, in your Zambil, which you can grab when you need at the right time. And I think this will happen. This will and schools will be paying more attention. Colleges would be paying more attention. So when they come to us in university, they'll be knowing these things, and you will see that also this trend that uh, this need for programming would move, sort of downwards or at early stage. The kind of expertise one was expecting 20 years ago from a master students, you would now expect from an undergrad, and then this will be expected from an AO levels, and then maybe on grade 8th and 6th. And we uh, in ours, in some of the STEM schools, you will find kids at maybe who are in grade 6 and 7. They're excellent programmers, excellent problem solvers. They do a great job, sometimes maybe better than us, and they ask the right question. I think what our kids need through coding, or through any computational exercise, or through any critical thinking exercise, is to be able to ask the right question, and don't accept and don't agree immediately, and be disturbed, that, yeah, teacher said that to me, but I don't really get it. I need to ask my mother, I need to ask my father, I need to go back to teacher again next day, and I need to know. I need to know. And I think, and that mindset would be there for all disciplines, including computational thinking or coding. That's how I look at it. I could be completely wrong, but then, as in academia, we have a nice habit of giving opinions, so that helps.
So, how concerned would you be? Because most schools right now are not kind of offering coding, or it's not embedded, or this coding piece of it is not embedded in the early years programs. It's something that's introduced at the higher level, right? Definitely elementary and middle schools don't have this kind of exposure. And so how concerned would you be about this trend?
We, as a part of a computer science department, we have been making uh, it making schools aware through, in our own way, that uh, you need to bring it as one of the activity. It could be under general STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or could be specifically under a coding. But these activities have to start, And maybe it takes 5 years before they become 3 years before they become a part of formal lectures that you have always. Abhi to, it's funny, what they call, what we still call in many of our school ICT, is how to, you know, that was the ICT. ICT I should have taken 25 years ago, not my kids now. You tell them what the CPU is and how my kid would ask, what is this CPU? ये कौन होता है? ये हजरत कहाँ पे रहते हैं? Where does this guy live? Like, I have never seen this guy in my house. ये कौन बंदा है? उनको तो पता है कि ये चीज होती है, एक चीज, ये इनके पास थी. That's what they know, or they know this thing. Like, this is what we got. उनको डब्बा है, you insert things, and you look at the class 6 book here or 4 book here, ICT, and that's what we're doing to them. That's what we're doing to them. We're telling them uh, monitor separate hai, and this is ICT, and then we teach them how to use Microsoft Word. Thank you very much. Like, that's the last thing you need to tell them. How to use Microsoft Word. Like, uh, the same clerical, polytechnical mindset. You want to produce technicians. You don't want to produce thinkers. And if you want to produce thinkers, you need to tell them how to make Microsoft Word. So I think it has been a very painful interaction for us as a community, sitting at LUMS or sitting in any other university where CS happens, computer science happens, and interacting with the local school system and telling them, you are missing a big opportunity. You're not doing justice to your kids. And even, unfortunately, many of those schools who can afford to bring a nice teacher, they don't do that. It's just not, they don't take it seriously. It's really amazing. Like, I don't want to go deep into that, but yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair. The parents wouldn't know. It's the responsibility of the school to tell. I trust. If I send my kid to a school, I trust the school. I know that if somebody, if a parent is investing his or her life savings by sending his or her kid to LUMS, I think the one thing they need to be very sure about, that they trust us. They trust us that we know our business. They trust us that we are well aware where the world is going. They trust us. They should trust us that we do our best, at least in our honest capacity, to bring that change which is required in their kid's life, so that when they leave LUMS, they're different people. And we prepare them for the jobs which don't even exist right now, by trying our best, in our limited capacity. But if a school doesn't even think in this way, I think that's not doing justice to the community. That has been my personal biggest problem with some of our school systems or schools. Yeah.
So kind of coming to our final question. So, we've been kind of looking backward or inward, on your journey. Where do you see your particular area or expertise? What is the long-term horizon? Where are we heading? And where are the children that are in kindergarten today? What kind of world do you think they're going to come into with a focus on your particular area of expertise?
Dekheen, one thing we're all very, very sure that we don't know the world our kids would end up in. Let's not be, let's not, I don't know, I always use this statement ke, aap bachon ke amma ba bane, Allah miyan na bane. And though alag alag cheeze hai na, there's a framework you operate in, and that's you should do, but over predict karke, when you try to set a path for our kids in a very protective path, we have no idea. And if there is one thing which has told us that we know nothing about our future, is COVID-19. We know nothing. You wake up in the morning and the world has changed, and we will never be the same. And you don't know how the world will look like. So one thing we are sure, I'm pretty sure when my kid would start going in the practical life, how that would look like, I'm unable to predict. But I'm there are few things I can certainly look at. One thing I can look at, that we're not going backwards, we're going forward. Which means when we're going forward, which means the role of technology is not going to decrease, it's only going to increase. The way it would be used, it has to be controlled and constrained and making maybe more ethical, but it's going to be used in a similar way. And then my discipline, which is design, which is designing an iPhone application, which is designing a product, which is designing a door, which is designing a nice space for human experiences. I think this is gonna only get better and better. We live in a very badly designed world. The world which is actually, there's a lot of it's not just well designed. Our doors are not well designed, our corridors are not well designed, our spaces are not well designed, many of our applications we use are not well designed. We find it very, very hard to design those things. So my field actually focuses on that. How can you design this product and these services and these spaces in such a way that people have fun when they're using them, when they're in them? So I think one thing we do want, that the next generation would be focusing less on products and more on experiences. They might not want to have lots of things, but they want to experience the world in a different way. So for that, my field, technology, design, would be very valuable. But more specifically, technology, I think it would be unwise to think that we'll go back to Stone Age. We're not going to do that. There'll be another ice age. Only if the mother nature is unhappy, which we think she's unhappy, she can plan another journey for us, but that's up to her. If she thinks that we're not doing, because we're not very kind to her, I think she has all the right to sort of slap on her face. And that's mother nature's right. But from a technology point of view, I think we're going to go forward. Our kids need to be trained to be able to operate in this world, to be able to live in this world, to be able to breathe in this world, to be able to make sense of this world. That's a basic requirement. That's how, if you want to live in Netherlands, you almost, if you don't know how to bicycle, I think your life is pretty bad and sad. So it's inevitable. You, as a kid, you will learn how to swim and how to ride a bicycle. So I think in 2030, our kids would know how to use computers, how to use technologies, how to be able to use communication technologies to be able to talk and communicate and live and do basic things. So I think that's where we're, of course, heading. Then in that world, what kind of jobs are there, how our kids would look like, I think that's a different topic altogether. But one thing is, I'm very sure that if you're a computer scientist, or if you have a computational thinking mindset, it is only going to help you. But wo duniya kaisi hogi? I don't have a nice parrot with me.
That was fantastic. So we're now at the end of our interview. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and hope people find it helpful. Thank you very much.